What Me Worry, by Chips Emotivillagity Images. Donald Trump, as we know, does not take well to insinuations that his grip on the presidency is anything less than total, or that any of his subordinates may have designs on his office. So it was with studied outrage that Vice President Mike Pence denounced a New York Times report over the weekend that spelled out what seems obvious: Pence appears to be positioning himself to take over the presidency if Trump doesn't run again, steps down, or is removed from office. Pence, the Times notes, has been quietly establishing an independent power base, cementing his status as Mr. Trump's heir apparent and promoting himself as the main conduit between the Republican donor class and the administration. Cramming his schedule with meetings, Pence has evaded warnings from fellow party members, and formed his own political fundraising committee, the Great American Committee, which has shadowed America First Action, Trump's primary outside political group, raising more undisclosed donations. Pence has also departed from the vice-presidential tradition of installing a government veteran as his chief of staff, and appointed political operative Nick Ayers, who has experience working on political campaigns, but not within the federal government. Pence, predictably, hit back with some force, underscoring his commitment to Trump. "The American people know that I could not be more honored to be working side by side with a president who is making America great again," he said, drawing abjectly on Trump's campaign slogan. "The idea that he might be building a shadow campaign," he added, "is disgraceful and offensive." Sensing further opportunity to punctuate his devotion, he incorporated another Trumpian trope. "Whatever fake news may come our way, my entire team will continue to focus all our efforts to advance the president's agenda and see him re-elected in 2020. Any suggestion otherwise is both laughable and absurd." Speculation that the vice president doth protest too much was bolstered on Sunday by the White House, which dispatched Kellyanne Conway to ABC's This Week, where she had a tersely casual conversation with host George Stephanopoulos, emphasizing that there was zero concern about Pence's ambitions. "Besides, there was no reason for the vice president to run in the first place," she said, nonchalantly. "The president says privately and publicly very often, George, that he'll be there for 7.5 more years. It's absolutely true that the vice president is getting ready for 2020, for re-election as vice president, in a West Wing that doesn't hesitate to publicly censure staffers who get out ahead of their skis." Conway's flat defense suggests that Pence, for now, retains the full support of the president. "Vice President Pence is very loyal, very dutiful, but also incredibly effective vice president, and active vice president, with this president," she added. Despite Pence and the White House's breathy claims that the vice president is a zealous Trumpian acolyte, the Times' report reflects broader concerns about the future of the administration. 6 months into his presidency, and Trump, now in Bedminster, New Jersey, for the next 2 weeks, not of vacation meetings and calls, has passed no major legislation, despite his party controlling the entire government. His popularity is near record lows, Congress is hurtling toward a potential shutdown over budget negotiations, and the Justice Department's investigation into alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia is accelerating. Last week, special counsel Robert Mueller impaneled a grand jury in Washington, D.C., in the latest sign that the FBI probe is moving toward potential indictments. Consequently, it's not just Democrats who are lambasting Trump. A schism is forming between the president and his own party. According to the Times, Pence isn't alone in scoping out possibly running in 2020. Senators Tom Cotton and Ben Sasse have already headed to Iowa this year, a traditional trip for those sounding out White House runs, and Ohio Governor John Kasich, who ran unsuccessfully in 2016, has publicly refused to rule out another campaign. He'll continue to speak out and lead on healthcare and on national security issues, trade policy, economic expansion and poverty, John Weaver, a political advisor to the governor, said. If reports that certain Republicans are running for the Oval Office are being sidelined as speculative, there's no doubt that other members of Trump's own party are working to corral him. Both houses of Congress passed legislation constraining Trump's ability to negotiate with Russia without their input, sending him a sanctions bill with a veto-proof majority, which he reluctantly signed. More recently, 2 GOP senators joined Democrats in proposing legislation that would prevent Trump from firing Mueller. And Republicans backed parliamentary procedures to prevent Trump from firing Attorney General Jeff Sessions during the August recess, a move that many fear could be a first step toward Mueller's dismissal. While the GOP has grown less timid in its efforts to place limits on Trump's powers, which he shows few signs of respecting himself, it has also become clearer that the president remains disinterested in the actual responsibilities of the job. And Trump's inability to grow into the office is beginning to frustrate members of his own party, especially in the intelligence community. The New Yorker reports that senior GOP members are increasingly vexed at Trump's inability to grasp the nuances of foreign policy, and are finally starting to speak out in exasperation. Trump is impatient, decision-oriented, and prone to action, Michael Hayden, a retired four-star general who previously led both the CIA and the NSA, said. He just doesn't have an interest in the world. Trump's parochial presidency has been colored by a series of foreign policy howlers. When British Prime Minister Theresa May came to America in January, the H was dropped from her name on the agenda 3 times. Theresa May, The New Yorker points out, is a soft-born actress known for her films Leatherlust and White House The Sex Video. Last month, the White House succeeded in calling Xi Jinping the President of the Republic of China, which is the island of Taiwan, rather than the leader of the People's Republic, the communist mainland. The two nations have been adversaries in Asia for more than half a century. The Trump administration also misidentified Shinzo Abe as the President of Japan, he's the Prime Minister, and called the Prime Minister of Canada Joe instead of Justin Trudeau. As geopolitical tensions intensify, misidentifying foreign leaders, even as porn stars, is at the softer end of Trump's capacity for errors. Leaked transcripts of Trump's conversations with the President of Mexico and the Prime Minister of Australia highlight the more consequential impact of his ignorance. Both, however, evidence the president's enduring inability to fulfill the role in which he has found himself, improbably, elected to serve. However his tenure winds down, the party will need somebody waiting in the wings. It is to Pence's benefit to indignantly forswear any interest in the job. It is to the country's benefit that he at least prepare himself for the possibility.